Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to today's Teaching Kitchen presented by UF Health, Employee Wellness, and Morrison Healthcare. I'm Chef Chris Voorhees, along with
Jenny, and I'm a dietitian.
We're going to walk you through a couple fall recipes today, some healthy fall recipes to help maybe give you some ideas, things to prepare at home for your family or for yourself during the fall season. So first, we're going to jump into real quick. Obviously, we want to make sure our station's sanitized before we're ready to start. So it means washing your hands. Obviously, the 20-second rule. Good pro tip for that. You always want to sing happy birthday to yourself, either out loud or quietly. But that's always a good indication of 20 seconds. So wash your hands, make sure everything's sanitized. And then we'll get started here in a second on some knife handling, cutting. We always want to make sure we wear gloves as well for ready-to-eat products. And then cutting gloves that we use as well, just to protect ourselves from any accidental cuts.
As a reminder, if you have any food allergies or intolerances, don't eat those foods. And we will, if you have any during this today's demonstration, step up and do some substitutions as well.
So the recipes that we're going to be making today, we have like I said, the roasted root veg, which consists of we have fresh golden beets, we have parsnips, some heirloom carrots, diced sweet potato, little onion, fresh herbs. We got sage, rosemary, some thyme, and we're going to show you a couple of things on that, how to throw those together. Get on the cutting glove. I didn't bring you one, sorry. What? We'll have to remedy that for next time. So once we get started, obviously, parsnip, I'm sure most of you guys are familiar. A parsnip is pretty much like a white carrot, but it's a really great root vegetable. It's got a lot of good health properties, beneficial, but it's if you like carrots, you'll definitely like a parsnip, something to mix it up a little bit. You got any nutritional information about parsnips?
Parsnips? Yeah, any of your kind of orange or red vegetables are full of beta-carotene, vitamin A, good for your eyes, for your skin. It helps you age better, actually. It helps with your DNA reproduction, which is really fun. And of course, all your vegetables are also high in fiber, which you always get to get more of. But if for whatever reason you don't like parsnips, you can switch it out for butternut squash, maybe some Brussels sprouts.
Oh yeah, Brussels sprouts. It's really good. So what we're going for is a large dice, which is about 3/4 by 3/4 squared on all these vegetables. You want to keep them all cut about the same size, so that way when you're roasting them off in the oven, they all cook at the same pace. So when they all come out, they're all the same doneness. You don't have the smaller pieces which are soft and some large pieces that may be not done yet. So basically, you just want to have that. And obviously, a good tip for when you're using your knife is I always like to use the claw technique, and I try to teach my son at home this, right? So you want to use a claw, and you want like the knife to rest on your knuckle as you're cutting. So as you hold it out like that, you basically just cut down. As you get faster, move down, and you just kind of want to let the blade ride down the knuckle, and that way your fingertips stay intact, and you don't go home with one less finger. Right. So I already have some pre-done, so I'm going to toss this into here. We already have some of these done for the magic of television. We already have our recipe all ready to go.
Magic of television.
So normally you can oil your baking sheet. You can either use like some spray, which they also have like some stuff if you don't like the olive oil, but you can use like avocado oils, things like that that are a little better for you. Saturated fats, better or worse as far as like olive oil versus avocado oil?
I think they're pretty similar. Both are good. Avocado oil is nice when you're using higher heats. It has a higher boil point. Whereas olive oil, roasting baking sometimes is a better, avocado oil is a better.
So obviously you want to make sure you season to taste, right? So we're using kosher salt. We have some black pepper on here. We do have some fresh herbs that we have pre-done here as well. I'm really big on fresh herbs. Have a little fresh herb garden in the backyard at home. So like I said, sage, rosemary, thyme, anything that you have, basil. Fresh is always better. And if you're going to use dry stuff, make sure you use a little bit less than the recipe calls for, because it's a little more dried and concentrated. And a little pro tip on that: when you have dried herbs, you rub them like in between your hands. It'll release some of the oils, and you'll get a little bit more flavor out of those dried herbs. So throw this in the oven, and through the magic of television, we actually already have somebody ready to go. Some ready to go. So here we have prepared for you already. So this is our roasted root vegetables. We got the heirloom carrots. We've got the golden beets, the sweet potatoes, the parsnips, and then we'll finish it off with a little bit of reduced balsamic. So balsamic vinegar, you just take this in a little saucepan, reduce it down a little bit, and then give it a little healthy little drizzle on top. Kind of get a little Jackson Pollock going. Maybe a little bit more fresh herbs just for that added flavor that got kicked out by the cooking process. And there you go. There's your roasted root vegetables with balsamic glaze. And so we have some samples coming for those of you that are here in the audience. And then we'll get started on the next recipe next. So our next recipe that we're going to do is we're doing a roasted pumpkin bread pudding. I like to do it with egg bread. So we have brioche is a really good egg bread back here that we use here at the hospital for a lot of our sandwiches and different things. You can use any bread you like, Texas toast. It doesn't have to be an egg bread. I just prefer to go with these.
Well, actually, nutritious kick. Whole wheat bread too.
Ah.
But a little extra fiber in there.
So basically what you want to do is I always like to let it stale out. So if you take your bread, let it sit out for a little while, either two things. You can let it sit out on the counter for like an hour or so and let it stale. It'll hold up better when you toss in the wet ingredients so it doesn't get super soggy. Or you can just toss it in the oven if you don't feel comfortable leaving it out on the counter. You toss it in the oven until it gets nice and crispy a little bit, toasty on the outside. And that'll help it, like I said, retain its shape a little bit more when you go to mix it with the wet ingredients. So we've got our bread. And next we'll take our seasonings. We have, so here we've got some fresh eggs. So we have fresh whipped eggs. We have a little bit of whole milk. You can also use other things as well. You don't have to use milk. So if you're intolerant.
Cut it back. You can use lactose-free milk, a 2% milk, and oat milk with almond milk. If you're more dairy-free,
Right. So also in the recipe, we got fresh roasted pumpkin, which I roasted off today. You can also use canned pumpkin. So if pumpkins are hard to find at your local grocery store, you can buy the canned pumpkin that you find. We've got a little brown sugar. We've got our cinnamon and pumpkin spice. And I always do with anything sweet, a little bit of pinch of salt helps balance the flavor a little bit, just a little touch so you don't have too much sodium. You give it all a good mix together. And then it's ready to go into our baking dish. And again, through the magic of television, we already have one prepared right here that's ready to go. And so this is what it should like when it's all ready to go into the oven. So you've got all of your ingredients there. We've got the pumpkin on top as well. You've got your bread, your spices, your egg, and your dairy all mixed together. You want to take your oven to about 350 degrees, high temp. You want to cook it covered in aluminum foil for about 30-40 minutes. And then maybe like the last 15 minutes, you want to take the aluminum foil off the top, drizzle your caramel over the top, and then you can serve it. So we'll throw this in. While that's cooking real quick, what kind of health properties or health benefits come from like pumpkin?
Yeah, well, pumpkin is in that same category, so it's really high in vitamin A. In fact, you can get almost your whole daily value of vitamin A. Pumpkin, which sounds like a lot, but in the bread pudding you get out, you can make it into a smoothie. That's really cool. Also super high in fiber, which is great, helps keep you full longer. So then, you know what I mean?
All right, so we actually have a magical oven here, and we already have this is done. Bing. So this is our completed bread pudding, which is ready to go. So you see that comes out nice and firm, doesn't have too much jiggle to it. So that's a good sign that the egg and the dairy in there is set with the bread. So it's all good. So you want to pull this out, and then you can finish this off with a little bit of you want to do a little caramel drizzle over the top?
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
If you stuck a fork in it or a knife in it, should it come out clean?
It'll just come out cleaner, but it's still going to have a little bit of wetness to it because obviously it's you still want it wet. You don't want it super dry. You definitely want some moisture in there. Which normally if you're breaking breads, yes, you would want that, like brownies and cookies and breads and things like that. You definitely want your toothpick to come out clean so you don't have any like uncooked dough. But since the bread is already cooked that you're throwing in there, you're basically just cooking. Make sure you cook the eggs and cream and everything sets up. But that's it. So
Yum.
we got that little caramel on top, and that's your roasted pumpkin caramel bread pudding. Any questions about today's recipes? In the back. Oh, vegetables. I'm sorry. I'm glad you asked that. I did forget to mention that. So those, again, the roasted vegetables, once they're seasoned, you want to throw those in an oven, high convection oven. If you have a convection oven at home, 350 degrees for about 20, 25 minutes, you basically want to check the doneness. Everybody's oven's a little bit different. So once the like a fork or a knife pierces the parsnip, especially, or the sweet potato, because those are the more dense of the vegetables, once it goes in softly, then they're good to go. So I would say about 15 to 20 minutes at 350, and that should take care of those vegetables for you. You don't want them super soft, or they're just not going to have much mouthfeel at all. You definitely want like still a little bit of bite to it, but not mushy.
And if you do not have a convection oven, you have a conventional oven, which most of our homes have. You could bump that temp up to 375 for about the same time, maybe a little bit less,
Right.
depending on how big you cut your vegetables.
Yeah.
But again, fork tender.
Anybody?
Question from the audience.
Joe would like to know if you guys deliver.
For a substantial fee, yes, we can.
Within a 5-mile radius.
Yeah, within a 5-mile radius. We take Venmo.
Cash works.
Yeah, I like
I
cash.
mean, I could do a check.
How's the roasted vegetables? Everything good? Good. We got the bread pudding coming over. So yeah, and these are things that we often serve in the cafe. So you can find these actually as specials from time to time in the cafe, at the Clinical Center and the Pavilion, as well as here at LRC. We do all our stuff in-house. We peel our own fresh vegetables. We bring in and try to do, we're probably about like a 85 to 90% scratch kitchen. So you can find some of these things. I actually did the bread pudding a couple weeks ago and got a lot of rave reviews, as well as the roasted vegetables. So yeah, come by and try it. Look forward to seeing you guys.
Any other questions?
All right. Well, no more questions. We thank you for your time. Appreciate you coming out. Hopefully we've left you with a few recipes to try at home or for yourself. And let us know. Give us some feedback. If you're in the kitchen or up on the floor and you see either of us, you got some things you'd like us to do next time, just let us know. Drop us a line. I'm sure somewhere there'll be a email or a posting with a email address on there, so you can let us know any recipes that you might want to see that you haven't seen before. And thank you guys for coming out today.
Thank you. And we will be doing this monthly, so stay tuned for the next one.
Bye, guys.